Well, the opposition has hit out at Sushma Swaraj for helping Lalit Modi get travel documents in Britain. The Congress has asked for Sushma Swaraj's resignation over the issue. Let's listen into some of the reactions of the opposition leaders on this big controversy.
As to how there is a clear-cut nexus between money launderers, match fixers, illegal bettors and BJP leadership that unfolded and proved and unraveled itself. It proves a clear-cut case of gross impropriety on part of the External Affairs Minister of India, Srimati Sushma Swaraj. It makes her position completely untenable. It is now established that Srimati Sushma Swaraj ji was helping a fugitive of law of India.
ये सारी बातें एक बहुत ही मैं समझता हूं गंभीर है कि भारत की विदेश मंत्री ऐसे व्यक्ति की सिफारिश कर रही हैं जो कि भारत से के कानून से भगोड़ा साबित हो गया है। मैं अपील करता हूं सुषमा जी से कि वे मॉरल ग्राउंड पर तत्काल इस्तीफा दे दें।
Clearly, it's the biggest row to hit the NDA government since they took charge last year. Controversy has erupted over External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj allegedly helping former IPL chief Lalit Modi get travel documents. A British daily has blown the cover of how Indian origin MP in Britain, Keith Vaz, used the minister's name to expedite travel documents for Lalit Modi. According to report, and India Today now has the letter of how Vaz cited Swaraj in his conversations with Sarah Rapson, the head of UK Visas and Immigration. Less than 24 hours after Sushma Swaraj's name was invoked, Modi was granted his travel papers. A quick background now of Lalit Modi, who came to London in 2010 amid the IPL scam. His Indian passport was later revoked, leaving him grounded in the UK. He received his UK travel documents last summer after a lengthy legal battle with the UK Home Office. It is about how Lalit Modi got these travel documents that is now at the centre of this huge controversy.
We were initially tracking the case because Keith Vaz was involved, a very prominent British MP, and during the course of the investigation we realised that he had also mentioned Mrs. Swaraj's name when he was in a communication to a senior Home Office official in the UK, which is why we then started to look at this side of the story as well. I personally wasn't speaking to Keith Vaz, so I don't know all of the details of his response because there was a team of us working on this, and my colleague Dipesh in the UK was dealing with Mr. Vaz. But what we do know from his correspondence that we've seen is that he did say that Mrs. Swaraj had said that the Indian government had no objections to Mr. Modi being granted UK travel documents. Well, we're obviously still investigating that, but from what we've seen so far, he did make representations to the UK's highest immigration officer, Sarah Rapson, on Mr. Modi's behalf. And we're just looking at the question of whether he brought pressure to bear on her to grant him the travel documents. They were initially refused, and then that decision was reversed. So that's basically the thrust of our story at the London end. From what we've seen in the correspondence, it appears that she told Keith Vaz that there would be no adverse effects on British-Indian relations if Mr. Modi was granted the travel documents. We're not sure about the extent of the correspondence between Keith Vaz and Mrs. Swaraj. We did ask that question to Mrs. Swaraj, but we didn't receive a response on that particular point. But we're also not sure whether she was speaking in a personal capacity or whether she was speaking on behalf of the whole of the Indian government at that point. That's also not clear from the response that she gave to us on Friday to the story.
Getting some breaking news that Sushma Swaraj has started tweeting again on the Lalit Modi controversy. This time she says, "What benefit did I pass on to Lalit Modi that he could sign consent papers for surgery of his wife suffering from cancer?" Question mark. Sushma Swaraj, in another tweet, she says, he was in London after his wife's surgery. He came back to London. What is it that I changed? Smita Sharma, Deputy Editor, is now joining us with more details from outside Sushma Swaraj's residence in Delhi. Smita, perhaps buoyed by the support from the RSS and the BJP, Sushma Swaraj is coming out with more defence for herself, but she still left some of the pertinent questions unanswered as to whether this decision was hers alone or whether the government in total was in the know of what was happening.
Well, absolutely, Maha. Clearly Sushma Swaraj there in a defiant mood today, and not somebody who is going to back down on this controversy, as is very clear from her fresh tweets, in fact, which she tweeted just around 12-13 minutes back. I'm still here at 8 Safdarjung Lane. Since morning, we've been told clearly by her staff that whatever the minister has to say, she will say it through Twitter, where she has some 2.8 million followers. It was 9 o'clock in the morning where we first saw those series of tweets that she posted, basically arguing her case in her own defense. And also now, after almost 7 hours, she's in fact tweeting those arguments now, in fact questioning where, remember the Congress press conference where Randeep Surjewala came out with 11 sharp questions for the government,
yes,
trying to counter that and perhaps pinpoint the essential point as to, asking the opposition camp to really prove as to what was the quid pro quo, if any, or what was really the exchange of benefits, if any, because she says that at the end of the day, Lalit Modi, he went from London to Portugal and came back to London. Doesn't change his position in any ways after having issued that visa to travel to Portugal for that reported surgery of his wife. So clearly Sushma Swaraj here, she's had the RSS backing, she's spoken to the Prime Minister, the BJP has come out strongly in defense, and this is not an issue where the BJP thinks they can allow the opposition to have a cakewalk.
Smita, help us understand the backroom talks that were happening while this controversy was engulfing Sushma Swaraj, the External Affairs Minister. What were the talks that were happening between top BJP leaders?
Well, it was multi-pronged. This was a Sunday morning. This was a day after Delhi faced, in fact, that terrible dust storm yesterday. And today, this morning, the government woke up with a terrible political storm of its own. So Sushma Swaraj in the morning, of course, when news channels started playing up the story. Remember the story, though, which had actually been revealed by a British daily on around 7th of June. So when Indian news channels started playing on this story today, Sushma Swaraj first made a telephonic call to Narendra Modi, after which we saw those first series of tweets that she posted at around 9 o'clock in the morning. Following the conversation with Narendra Modi, Sushma Swaraj, in fact, also had another round of conversation with Home Minister Rajnath Singh, somebody again who's considered to be closer to Sushma Swaraj, because remember, in the pre-government days, we've seen all kinds of lobbies at work within the BJP.
Yes.
Now, after that conversation, Rajnath Singh went and, of course, met Narendra Modi. He also had a talk, in fact, with RSS leaders as well. That's when we saw Indresh Kumar come out with this speech. And when Indresh Kumar came out and backed Sushma Swaraj, saying that, look, she's not somebody who's going to compromise with nationalism, with patriotism. She has human values, and that's how she acted upon. Immediately after that, we saw, in fact, Amit Shah come out and then address the media and try and put the ball in the Congress's court by bringing up mentions once again of Warren Anderson or Quattrochi. So clearly a flurry of telephone calls and meetings which have not ended and which will continue through the course of this evening as well, Maha.
Smita Sharma, many thanks for filling us in with all those details this evening. Now, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, who's in the spotlight for her assistance to Lalit Modi, has clarified to Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the issue. Sources have told India Today that Sushma Swaraj conveyed to the Prime Minister that she did nothing that was out of the purview of the government rules. Meanwhile, security was beefed up outside Sushma Swaraj's residence in the wake of any possible protests. Home Minister Rajnath Singh also met the Prime Minister and briefed him over the Sushma Swaraj issue. The BJP and the government then threw their weight behind Sushma Swaraj and debunked the allegations against her. Meanwhile, Sushma Swaraj already tweeted this morning in her defense, and here's what Sushma Swaraj said. Sometime in July 2014, Lalit Modi spoke to me, and in fact, at that time, he told her that his wife was suffering from cancer and that her surgery was fixed for the 4th of August in Portugal. He told me that he had to be present in the hospital to sign the consent papers. He informed me that he had applied for travel documents in London, and the UK government was already preparing to give him travel documents. However, they were restrained by a UPA government communication that it will spoil the Indo-UK relations. This is what Sushma Swaraj put out on Twitter this morning, and then she goes ahead and says that taking a humanitarian view of this whole issue, I conveyed to the British High Commissioner that the British government should examine the request of Lalit Modi as per the rules of the British government. Really, that is what she said. According to the rules and regulations of Britain, if the British government chooses to give travel documents to Lalit Modi, that will not spoil our bilateral relations, is what Sushma Swaraj tweeted this morning in her defense. Now, Keith Vaz also spoke to me, is what Sushma Swaraj says, and I told him precisely what I told the British High Commissioner. I genuinely believe, is what she says, that in such a situation, giving emergency travel documents to an Indian citizen cannot and should not spoil relations between the two countries.
I find it very strange that a story that is based on events that happened a year ago should surface now. So clearly there is an attempt on to plant the story, both, as Rahul just now mentioned, in the British media and in the Indian media. The reason for planting it in the British media could be local politics, because Keith Vaz is involved. Now, what is the allegation? The allegation is that in July 2014, Lalit Modi wrote or spoke to the foreign minister saying that he needs to travel to Portugal because his wife is undergoing cancer surgery and he needs to sign authorization papers. And for that, he needs travel documents, because at that particular point of time, his passport had been seized by the government. Now, the British authorities had told Lalit Modi that that there is this apprehension that India-UK ties could be impinged, as the UPA government had earlier communicated to them, if they were to issue travel papers. So Sushma said, no, go ahead, issue travel papers on humanitarian grounds.
Now, just why is the government's alleged bailout of former IPL Commissioner Lalit Modi so controversial? For one, Lalit Modi is a declared absconder for alleged financial irregularities in the IPL. The Interpol has issued notices against Lalit Modi. And so, in effect, Sushma Swaraj allegedly helped a man wanted by the police across the globe. Lalit Modi was found guilty by the BCCI on 8 different charges. That's the allegation against him. And as the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, remember, in 2010, Sushma Swaraj had herself demanded a joint parliamentary committee probe into the IPL scam.